So there's some interesting dirt being dug up about Donald Trump. Specifically, even some of his closest advisors in the White House during the early days of his presidency thought he had dementia. This includes people like Bannon, who basically said that Donald Trump was unfit for office and was actually pushing for the 25th Amendment to be used against Donald Trump well before it was being discussed in the mainstream media in the latter days of his presidency. I want to play you a clip from a journalist, from a producer of 60 Minutes, that heard this story firsthand from Bannon.
His criticism of Trump privately, to me, took on a different tone. This is after he leaves the White House. He believed Trump was suffering from early stage dementia and that there was a real possibility he would be removed from office by the 25th Amendment, where the cabinet could vote that the president was no longer mentally capable of carrying out his duties. And he even sends you a text. You need to do the 25th Amendment piece. By the way, brother, I never steer you wrong. He's trying to get you to do a story for 60 Minutes about Trump and the 25th Amendment. And that's not all. He was also meeting with another source of yours, Rebecca Mercer, the big money bags for Bannon and the original Trump campaign as well, to recruit her behind a 25th Amendment push.
Exactly right. Exactly right. He didn't want to talk about it on 60 Minutes at the time. You can't force the guy. But, you know, he had laid out the record at that time. I mean, this was a period of time when he had great frustrations with Trump. Trump was kind of, you know, throwing him under the bus a little bit in terms of, there was a new Time magazine portrait of Bannon, of the person who got Trump secretly elected. And Trump took a lot for that particular Time magazine from his New York friends. And he kind of turned on Bannon, and Bannon was a little bit on the outs during this period of time. And Bannon realized that Trump was repeating the same stories over and over again. There was a David Brooks column that had been written in the New York Times that said Republican senators went to see Trump in the White House, and they were hearing him repeat himself, and they realized he may be suffering from early stage dementia. Nevertheless, they gave him a standing ovation. By the way, it was one of my favorite columns. You know, here they're seeing the president in early stage dementia, and they're giving him a round of applause. And Bannon kept saying this, and he wanted to do something about it.
So you can see there that Donald Trump, even of the people that were dedicated Trumpers early on, really thought this man did not have the mental fitness for office. And I'm not a doctor, of course, but what I can say is this is obviously very juicy given the conduct of Trump during the last election, because it was Donald Trump and it was a lot of people in the Trump campaign suggesting that, in fact, Joe Biden was unfit for office, that he was strong and young and virile and passed his cognitive, health test, and Joe Biden was the one that couldn't do the job mentally of being president. But it was really Donald Trump. I really do think that Donald Trump likely does have dementia. Now, as this podcast would later note, Bannon saw himself as like the true power behind Trump and thought maybe that if he could depose Trump at some point or weaken Trump, he could rise to power somehow. So there is a certain, motive for Bannon to weaken Donald Trump, at least at some point. But I think he's right. Remember that Donald Trump is all about projection. It's all about projection for Trump. If he says that his opponent did something or has some ailment or has some character flaw or broke some law or broke some ethics code, you can take it to the bank. You can take it to the casino and put it all on red that Donald Trump has done the same thing, if not the same thing and worse. So when Trump says my opponent has dementia, you damn well know Donald Trump probably has early stage dementia. Now, of course, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask questions about some of Joe Biden's health issues. And indeed, if you were an average American, you would agree with that, because as I've noted before, going back to September, when asked, the average voter in key swing states thought that both Trump and Biden were unfit for office mentally. But the point is, Biden was not throwing around these accusations at Trump, but Trump was throwing them at Biden. So remember these sorts of things. Remember that the name of the Republican game, and it's not just Trump, maybe especially him, but remember this in the post-Trump era, projection is everything. They will accuse Democrats and progressives and anybody that isn't part of their in-group of everything. And when they accuse people of it, start digging, because it's likely the case that they've done it even more.